Okay, you're looking at my cartridges here, and it started out with my uncle, a great uncle to be exact. In World War I, he fought over there in the trenches, and in between the battles, they would take the cannon shells and they would carve on them, those that had such a skill. And he brought one back, and because he knew I kind of liked that type of thing, he gave it to me as a present from my great uncle from World War I. Yes, it's all inert and everything, so it's not fireable. And so that was basically the beginning of it. And then we were down here at a gun store in McCook, Nebraska, when I was just a little bitty kid, probably 7, maybe 8 years old. And in the store they had a 50-gallon wooden barrel, full of 30-06 shells, and it had clips. It was a World War II M1 Garand clip, and that Garand clip had 8 shells in it, and the 8 shells and the clip only cost 10 cents for the whole thing. And I begged and begged, and Dad finally gave me a dime so I could buy and have those for my collection. I wish I still had them. They got stolen. But be that as it may, 30-06, and that was the beginnings of my collection. Throughout my life, I've had numerous people give me some shells. This came from a very good friend of mine down by Trenton, and these are 4570 military U.S. stamped 4570 cartridges, like what Custer would have used at the Little Bighorn. 4570 originals, absolutely, and those added to my collection. Another gunsmith here locally, back in the 1970s, he made shells for people from scratch. It really wasn't done by the factories at that time, so he would take another cartridge and use pressure and blow it out to whatever size you wanted it to fit whatever gun you had that no longer was being manufactured by the big boys. This is a 4590 Sharps paper patch bullet. A guy wanted 500 of these to take elephant hunting over in Africa, so he made 500 and about 20, and he gave one of that extra 20 to me, and that's what this shell is. Yeah, 4590 paper patch bullet. From the shotguns, I have a 9mm shotgun shell. I used to have just dozens and dozens of all kinds. The 410 is, of course, a very common one. But then we go to the 32 caliber. I said a 32 caliber shotgun shell. Of course, the most famous is, of course, the 12 gauge shotgun shell. And then you go on up to a 10 gauge shotgun shell. You bet. And finally on up to the 8 gauge. And that's some serious shotgun, I'm here to tell you. No question about that. With that in mind, shells just are the mankind's idea of what would best be able to send down range and take game as quickly as possible, or to perhaps defend yourself in times of dire need. One of the shells I have is, for example, a 1-inch original U.S. Army 1-inch Gatling gun shell. A 1-inch Gatling gun. Yeah. Now that was quite a cartridge, to say the least. I also, as you can see, I have different boxes of ammunition. This one is from World War II, and they talk about having metal supplies low, and so they used other metals rather than the regular ammunition and copper for the bullets. And so with that in mind, that came from World War II era. But whatever you do and in the cartridge collecting, it's entertaining. I enjoy the devil out of it, always have. Again, I used to have a lot more ammunition than I do now. But this is some of the things I do, and I wish and hope that perhaps down the road you might consider it. And if not for today, to enjoyment of today, tomorrow. Because any kind of ammunition that you can get your hands on today, especially, for example, in 22, almost everybody has 22 ammunition, and that means on a day after event, this would probably be worth almost as much as gold. I said almost as much as gold on a day after event. Things to keep in mind. Thank you for your time and for allowing me to talk about my hobby.